Stinky friends, welcome back to the channel. You're watching Theory Hammer. We're gonna finish up our Death Guard detachment deep dives with the Death Lord's Chosen today. So that's what we're doing. If you have not seen the other videos about the other detachments, I'm gonna try my best to link them down below. This is gonna be the last video in the series, I think. And then from there, we'll probably pivot to some videos about specific units. We're gonna go over the World Eaters next as well. All kinds of fun stuff coming up on the channel. So if you find viewers like the video, thunderhammer that like and subscribe button, baby. Hit Nurgle's bell, leave a comment, check out the other videos, check out the other channel, do the things. I really hate having to do this spiel every time, but it does help. If you, for some reason, want to support the channel, doing those things is completely free and it actually does help the channel grow. Now, like in my other videos, we're going to start here with a brief summary of our army rule, which is Nurgle's Gift. It's an expanding debuff aura that makes your opponents cry. It starts at 3 inches, it gets bigger by 3 inches every round, and then it stops at 9. Enemy units in the aura are -1 toughness, and then you either pick -1 save, -1 to hit, or, altogether, -1 OC, leadership, and movement. Enemy units also gain those debuffs while they're in the aura, so as long as they're in your contagion aura, they are afflicted, and they gain those afflictions on top of being -1 toughness. So you pick up before the battle. You can also tailor this to the army that you're up against. You're almost always going to want to take Rattlejoint Og, though, for the -1 save. It's just the best one, and it applies to the most matchups, I guess I would say. So that's our army rule. Now let's very quickly go over the units again, starting with the characters. Like I said in the other videos, when I talk about the AP, I'm probably going to include the Rattlejoint Og, so every AP value is going to be 1 better. I'm not going to do a huge breakdown here. That was from the first video. If you want to watch that, it's linked down below probably. So let's just get started up here. Lord of Contagion, he's our first character. T7 now with a 2-up, 4-up, and 6 wounds. Gets back up on a 2-up with 3 wounds remaining. He gives out sustained hits and lance. He's got 5 attacks at 9, 3, 3 with lethals and lance and sustained 1. So you put him with Death Shroud, you put him solo. He's just really good. No matter what you do with him, he's awesome. He's 110 points. The points have been confirmed at this point, so that's awesome. Somehow the Defiler is actually 165 points. I love it. So Lord of Contagion is 110. The next one is our Lord of Virulence. Same exact stat line there. This guy gives reroll wounds for ranged weapons for any unit that he's attached to, and then he picks a unit within 30 inches. Anyone who shoots at that unit that he picks rerolls once to hit, or if they're shooting blast weapons, they reroll all their hits. He himself has an anti-infantry 2+ flamer. That's pretty much AP2 when you calculate the affliction in there for Rattlejoint Og, and then 5 attacks at 8, 3, 2 with lethals. So take him with Blight Lords, I think is probably what you do there. He is 90 points right now. We then have the Plague Caster. He's pretty good. He's got a really nice flamer, D6 plus 3 shots at 6/2 D3 damage, and he enfeebles you, which makes you -2 move, and that happens as long as he wounds you. He's toughness 6 now. He gives his unit sustained hits, as long as they target an afflicted unit at least. He's only 60 points. We love him. Then we have the Prince. This thing is so good. Toughness 12 with 10 wounds, 2-up, 4-up save. He has a 12-inch aura that discounts strats. He is a lone op as long as he's within 3 inches of any friendly infantry units. He also gives out a 6-inch aura of cover, which isn't crazy, but because everything always has cover now, but if you're out in the open on that center objective, probably nice to be within 6 inches of him. He also has 7 attacks at 8, 3, 3 with lethals, or 14 attacks at 6, 2, 1 lethal. 195 points. This guy is a champion. Then we have the Foul Blight Spawn, also toughness 6 now, still gives fights first, but it's only for 1 unit per game. It's kind of like a captain's ability. You pick one unit in your army with the ability to use it that turn. It's once per battle. They get fights first. So that's what he does. The other thing that he does now is that enemy units can't start or end an advance move within 9 inches of him. So good. He's got his really good flamer. That's strength 7 AP2, 2 damage, but it's basically AP3 because of affliction. And it ignores cover, of course. That's basically AP4. Which is awesome. He's only 60 points. He's so good. You're going to see him. You're going to take him. We then have the Putrefier, also toughness 6. Basically all of everything, all the characters, all the Plague Marines, that kind of stuff. They went up to toughness 6. So he's toughness 6 now. He gives all of the weapons in the unit lethal hits, makes them crit on 5s. He has a much better grenade now at strength 7, AP2 with affliction accounted for, 2 damage for only 45 points. Really good unit. Really good character. Mortarion is our last character. Just kidding, we also have the Lord of Poxes, but Mortarion, he's got a 6-inch end of movement phase aura that does mortals to everyone. So he moves up, everything within 6 inches, you roll a dice, 3 up, they take D3 mortals, unless they're afflicted, in which case you add 1 to the roll, so it's on a 2 up. So he just gives out mortal wounds to everybody. He also gives out reactive moves, reactive shoots, or fight on death to friendly units that are nearby him. Only 5 attacks though at 14-4 when you account for affliction, D6 plus 1, lethals and devs, or his sweep is 15 attacks at 832 with sustained 1 and lethals. He is 380 points. He is great. Not on every detachment, but he's just good for his points. The last one is the Lord of Poxes. T6, 5 wounds. He's basically just a Chaos Lord, but for Nurgle, he gives out Lone Op to his unit within 18 inches. His contagion range is extended by 3 inches. He's got 6 attacks at 832 lethals and debs, and he's 75 points. Then we have our regular stuff like Plague Marines. Like I said, toughness 6. They have all the options you would expect them to have. So lots of flamers, light launchers, and power fists. They give out affliction to any unit they shoot. They can also take a piece of war gear, which you're just going to take. Gives out -1 leadership to everybody within 6 inches as well. They're 100 points, or 140, or 200. They're 20 points apiece. Poxwalkers, they gained Infiltrate. It's super duper good. You're going to want to take them. They have OC. They can do actions early. They can make walls. They can afflict people. Take them. They're great. Then we have the Spawn. 6-inch Scout with an 8-inch move. Feel no pain 5 up. Deadly Demise 1 for no reason, but I love it. Also toughness 7, so they're a little bit harder to get through. They have OC as well, so they can do actions early as well. And then they have a weird little ability where when you wound them in combat, you roll up to 6 dice, and any 4-ups are mortal wounds, and they're 80 points. Then we got our Blight Lords. Toughness 7 with a 5-inch move. All Terminators are 5-inch move, including all the characters. They get +1 strength and AP if they shoot an afflicted target, as long as they have a character attached or the unit has 5 or more models. With a Lord of Virulence, you're going to have full rerolls to wound, and their combat is now 2 damage instead of 1, but they have 3 attacks. 180 points for 5, 360 for 10. Then we have our Death Shroud. They're T7 with 4 wounds, 2 up, 4 up. They can deep strike within 6 inches of afflicted units, and they're allowed to charge because it's insane. 4 attacks each at 832, hitting on 2s with lethals. Probably also with Sustained and Lance from the Lord of Contagion. They also have a Flamer on each guy. It's anti-infantry 4+. It is also a pistol, and because of Affliction, you can basically consider it to be AP 1, and because it's a Flamer, it's ignoring cover, so it's kind of like it's AP 2 sometimes. But that's what they do. They're 140 points for 3, 300 for 6. I really like him in small units with the Lord of Contagion, because then he just gets back up on a 2-up and gives that unit Lance Lethals. Or I'm sorry, Lance Sustain. They already have lethals. Just really good. The unit is insane. Being able to deep strike within 6 inches and then charge. Dude, what? So, yeah, really, really good unit there. Then the vehicles are bloat drones. They got massively better. D6 plus 2 shots at strength 10. Basically AP 3 with affliction, 3 damage. They can possibly afflict all units within 6 inches of the unit that they destroy. If that unit that they destroy was afflicted, it's a 4-up roll. Otherwise, it's a 5-up roll. If you make the roll, everything within 6 inches of the unit they destroy is also afflicted. They're 100 points, and they're fucking awesome. Predator Destructor, this gives +1 AP to non-monsters and vehicles that it shoots, so it shoots something, or multiple things, it picks one of the things it shot, as long as it's not a monster or vehicle. Any other Death Guard units that shoot at it get +1 AP against that target. Its main gun also gained lethals. Its heavy bolters are awesome because they also have lethals. They always have, for Death Guard, they've always had lethals and sustain, but when you combine that with their affliction, they really do a lot of damage to stuff you wouldn't expect them to. So really, really awesome. They're 145 points. They're basically a Castigator from Adeptus Sororitas. I think the Castigator works against everything, though, where these only work against non-monsters and vehicles. So a little difference there. Then we have the Defiler. I don't know why I'm so fucking obsessed with this thing. It's just so good for 165 points. Toughness 11, 14 wounds, 5-up invuln. So shooting, combat, it's got a 5-up invuln all the time. Its main gun gaining lethals, and just the way that it synergizes with the Death Guard army just makes it probably the best Defiler, and that's probably why I'm so hard on it. But yeah, D6 plus 3 shots at strength 10, basically AP 2 because of affliction, flat 3 damage. Twin-linked heavy bolter that also gains those lethal hits, can have a flamer. All of it's basically +1 AP. Same deal with its combat as well. It's 5 attacks at 16-4 with affliction, D6 plus 1 damage. It can walk over stuff, and most importantly, it can take away cover from a unit that it shoots at. So in the last video, or I guess it would have been the one before this, where I was talking about the Morty's Hammer video, the Blight Launcher drone thing plus the Defiler, I think, belong together. I'm a little less enthusiastic about the Plague Burst Crawler. I think it's amazing. They're awesome. They're probably still undercosted just because of what they can do. Neither here nor there. But I think the Morty's Hammer list, you just take 3 Defilers, 3 Bloat Drones, and then like 3 units of Death Shroud with Lords attached, some Spawns, some Poxwalkers. Like, that is the list. They synergize really well together. So let's move on to the Blight Haulers. They are now +1 to hit and wound monsters and vehicles. The Multi-Melta gained lethal hits, although I don't think I put it on the datasheet when I was editing these, so sorry about that. But it should have lethal hits. It's 90 points for this thing. They're just good. I mean, they hit on 2s, they're +1 to wound, so they're wounding on 4s or better. If you're afflicted and you're toughness 9, then now you're toughness 8, and so the Multi-Melta wounds you on 3s, which is then 2s. So it just depends what you're shooting at, but awesome for 90 points. Really, really good. Then we have the Plague Burst Crawlers themselves. They're just good, and I talked about a lot in the other videos. Their entropy cannons went to 36 inches, so they have a little bit more range there. If they do decide to move out of terrain, which I think later on in the game they should do, they're good enough where you can just push them up, I think, especially if they have flamers on them. They're durable enough where they have the 2-up save, 5-up invuln, and they do enough damage to stuff. Plus, you have other stuff kind of moving up and getting in there, so I don't know. Anyway, though, that is what they do. Their ability is great. It can splash mortal wounds to everything within 3 inches of its target. You roll dice on a 6 for each thing, so you roll dice individually for each thing. On a 6, they take D3 mortal wounds. If they're afflicted, they take D3 mortal wounds on a 5-up. Then we have the Rhino. This is the last unit we're going to discuss here. I didn't rip through these as quickly as some of the other videos, but the Rhino is really, really good. It gives you rerolls to wound when you get out of it. Just like, yeah, that's super good. So that's the dumb units for the 4th time here. So what are we working with? What units are we going to take if we're using the Death Lord's chosen detachment? Well, to answer that, let's look at the detachment itself. The detachment rule here is Deadly Vectors. In your opponent's command phase, roll 2d6 for each afflicted unit. Subtract 1 from the roll if you're below half. On a 6 or less, you take D3 mortal wounds. So now another way to just stack even more mortal wounds on top of the opponent. So you have the detachment rule, you have Morty, and you have Plague Burst Crawlers, potentially, that can all just stack mortal wounds on you all game long. Then plus all the normal damage that you're taking on top of that. It's very straightforward as a detachment rule, but as the game goes on, more and more stuff is going to start the command phase within contagion range. And that's just extra damage that you're going to be putting on things. So I like extra damage. You probably like extra damage. Let's take a look at our enhancements and see if we find anything interesting there. Enhancement 1 is Face of Death. It's bad. It does battle shock things, and we're going to move on to one that's good, which is Warp Rot Talisman. This allows you to, once a game, put a unit of Terminators back into reserve at the end of your opponent's turn. I don't really need to tell you why this is good, but like, I just get to reposition a unit of Death Shrouds, and then they can deep strike within 6 inches again and charge? The fuck? When you use this right, this is going to give someone a really bad game, because you're going to hit them with these Death Shroud. They won't have the forces to deal with them, and so they'll ignore them, but they can't, because you pick them up and you bring them back down somewhere else, you charge. Seems really, really strong there. But like most things that can do weird things like this, screening is going to be your best friend in situations like that, just to make sure that they can't deep strike within 6 inches of important stuff. So if you have those screening units alive still, use them. Use them against these, because they are very, very good. The next one is Vile Vigor, which gives the unit +1 move, and rerolls advances. I'm pretty sure there's no advance and charge strats or enhancements or anything. And taking a unit of Terminators to just basic bitch movement of 6 inches across the table, yeah, it's not great. Plus, why the fuck are you walking your Terminators up the table? Like, if you wanted to do that, then you would just take, like, Helm of the Fly King, the last enhancement, which would make your Terminators loan up with an 18. So, you know, that would allow them to at least advance up the table safely. And, you know, you can get your Terminator firepower out there. So that with a 10-man Blight Lord unit with a Lord of Virulence actually does sound kind of annoying to deal with. And that would also be a pretty deadly unit that has 3 Twin-Linked Flamers, 2 Twin-Linked Blight Launchers, 2 Twin-Linked Reaper Autocannons, a lot of good stuff in there. And you can't just shoot them from across the board. So this limits what can actually engage those Terminators, and I kind of put 2 enhancements together here, but the first one is +1 to your move, and you can reroll your advances, or you can just take Helm of the Fly King, and it makes you a lone op with an 18. So overall, my opinion, personally, is that the enhancements are fine. There's nothing completely outrageous, though. The ability to pick up the Terminator squad and put them back down when the Terminators themselves have an ability that they can deep strike within 6 and charge you, that seems good, and it's probably like 30, 35 points, I would imagine. I don't have the points up in front of me. These are all being recorded at the same time, all these videos, and at the time of recording, I don't have the current points cost for the enhancements handy. But again, like with every video, the points are in the description, so go to the website, get the field manual, download the points, see if they're in there. So yeah, there's nothing that really that I was about to lie. There's one enhancement that I fucking hate, and it's the one that does a battle shock thing. The other 3 are fine, especially the one that lets you put Terminators back into reserve. That's a little bit more than fine. That's like really, really strong. And so that's what we get. So next, let's take a look at our strats, and then we can put this all together and kind of figure out what an army list in this detachment may look like. First strat, Signal Pox. 1 CP, it's in your command phase, you pick a Lord of Virulence. You pick an objective within 30 inches of that Lord of Virulence. That objective has to be visible, and while an enemy unit is within range of that objective, they're afflicted. Really strong strat. It lasts until the start of your next turn as well. So this allows your detachment rule to take effect against those units, which is nice. And at the end of the day, it equates to like, I don't know, 2 to 4 mortal wounds, just depending on how you roll, and if you're under half. But what this really does is this makes Morty deal mortal wounds on a 2-up. It makes Plague Burst splash on a 5-up. And of course, it then afflicts them. So they're -1 to their toughness, they're -1 to their save. It turns on Terminator abilities. Death Shrouds can now deep strike within 6 inches. Light Lords can get their ability when targeting them. It's just strong, and it's all for 1 CP. It kind of reminds me of Appraising Glare from Votann, where I get to pick an objective. I don't have to see it, but I can just pick an objective, and anybody that's on it counts as having an additional judgment token. Kind of reminds me of that. It's like you pick an objective, everyone on it is -1 to their save and -1 to their toughness. Hell yeah, dude. 1 CP, absolutely thumbs up 100% of the time. Now, the rest of the strats are fine, but nothing stood out to me as being absolutely fantastic, but we're going to go over them anyway. The first one, well, the next one, is Blooming Pestilence for 1 CP. This adds 3 inches to the Terminator's unit contagion range. Maybe I'm missing something here, and if I am, let me know down below. I just don't see it being, I don't see it being horrible, first of all, but I also don't see it being amazing. I guess it's there to help proc your detachment rule more easily, and potentially lets you afflict more units, which is never a bad thing. So maybe I'm like overlooking how strong this strat it actually is, but I don't, at my first glance, it doesn't seem amazing, but hey, I mean, if you really need to extend your contagion range from a unit, you can do that, and that will become important in certain situations. Then we have Grim Reaper for 1 CP. It gives Terminators rerolls to hit in the fight phase only. Not bad on a unit of Death Shroud Terminators that have a character, because they have lethal sustained full rerolls now, yeah. The only reason I didn't instantly talk about it is because it doesn't hit monsters and vehicles. If it did, it would be insane. But yeah, Death Shroud rerolling hits with lethals and sustained. This is going to do a shitload of wounds on literally anything, and I'm sure I'm going to include this in my Death Shroud Terminators Can Kill Anything video whenever I do make that. Then we have Morty's Teachings. Terminators gain Assault and Heavy. Heavy's useless, so you can just delete that from your brain until another edition, but gaining Assault, it's fine, I guess. This would be good to use on that unit of Terminators that got +1 to their movement, or perhaps if you took the Helm of the Fly King, gave them Lone Op. Okay, well now they have Assault, so they can be moving faster, still be shooting, you can't shoot back at them. I can see it. It just doesn't seem, crazy good, you know? I can't really say too much more about it. That's what we got. The next one is Sickening Impact. 1 CP for a charge phase strat. You do impact mortals for your Terminators. D6 for each model in the unit within engagement range. Every 2+ is a mortal, so max of 6 as usual. I like this. I like it a lot, actually. But when you put it all together, so between like this, Morty's ability, between the splashing mortal wounds from Plague Burst Crawlers, this strat for impact mortals, you can just do a lot of mortals, you know? Like a ton of mortals on stuff. So I like it. And I like that it's on a 2-up. I like that you just roll the dice. You're probably going to get 5, because you roll 6 dice. One of them will probably fail. So you're going to do 5 mortal wounds on the charge. That's if you get every guy into engagement range, which they're larger bases. Depending on how far away they are, it's not actually going to be possible, especially depending on the roll for your charge. So either way, though, it's just an impact mortal wound thing, and I like it. I like the fact that it can do, on average, 4 or 5 mortal wounds, depending on how many guys you get in there. reliably every time. I think that that's pretty good. And that gives you a way to destroy things that you couldn't quite get to. Like, I find a lot of the times, I'm shooting a vehicle or something, I get it down to like 3 wounds, and then I'm like, okay, I gotta charge my Einherjar champion into this and try to mortal wound him out there, and then swing into something. So, similar kind of idea there. If you have a unit that's not quite dead, you don't actually have to attack it. Just charge into it, mortal wounds, dead, pile into the thing you care about. Stuff like that. A lot of these actually only hit Terminators, so the detachment wants you to take Terminators. This is like the Terminator detachment, and the Terminators are good. So I recommend using those. When it comes to the vehicle stuff, you probably don't want to take too many of them. Like, I think every single list just has 3 bloat drones because they're amazing. So you probably still have bloat drones in there. But this detachment's really going to incentivize taking lots and lots of Death Shroud and lots of Blight Lords because everything revolves around Terminators. And I like the fact that it can do some extra wounds on top of that while, you put these Toughness 7 Terminator units on the table. One thing I would have liked to see here is some sort of defensive strat. Something like maybe like a 5-up Fiona Pain strat. That would have been nice to see. That way you can put it on Terminators. Then you have like a bunch of detachments that kind of have different things. You have the Vectorium. I don't know if you say it Vectorium or Vectorum. I've been saying Vectorum. You have that one, which has disgustingly resilient for -1 damage. Champions of Contagion has like something grotesque resilience or something. +2 to your toughness, which makes them toughness 9 for Terminators. I would have liked to see like a 5-up Fiona Pain strat for a unit of Terminators. That would have been cool. We don't have that here, unfortunately. And I think out of the 4 that I've reviewed so far, I think this one's probably the least powerful of the 4. And that is not to say it's not strong. It's really fucking strong. I just think, considering all the other ones, I think it's probably the least strong because it incentivizes the least amount of units. Only Terminators are really what you want here. A lot of your strats hit Terminators. Your enhancements can only be taken on certain things that are attaching to Terminators. So it's very like Terminator focused. If your goal is to try to do as much damage to your opponent without actually attacking your opponent, this might be the detachment for you. There's a lot of ways to do mortal wounds to things here, plus all the units that you have that want to do mortal wounds to things already. I like being able to just do extra damage to stuff. I like that it's really straightforward, and I kind of like the way that it works because as the game goes on, more and more things are going to end up being in contagion range. I like some of the strats and some of the enhancements, the ability to pick up a Terminator squad and put them back into reserve. That alone is seriously strong. Like, that makes this detachment worth using simply because that exists. Because those Death Shroud Terminators are so good now. They're really expensive, but if you did have a brick of 6 plus a Lord of Contagion that can come down within 6 early on, especially like when you're with your Poxwalkers making things in container, whatever the case may be, come down within 6, they charge something, they just absolutely destroy it. Maybe they take a little bit of damage in return. Maybe they don't. Then they get picked up. Then they come down again within 6 inches, and even if it's only 3 of them plus the Lord of Contagion left, that still kills anything, just about. And then your opponent's forced to deal with that Terminator squad again in a completely different area, different side of the table, whatever the case may be, and that can really throw people off. I know it throws people like me off, and I'm not sure off the top of my head, like, you wouldn't take like 3 bricks of 6 Blight Lords here. You'd probably take like 3 units of 3 with Lords of Contagion, maybe a couple of units of Blight Lords, but then like, Poxwalkers, Plague Marines, some Spawn, and then if you can fit it, some drones, and God, all these detachments look the same because all their units are so fucking good. It's basically the same thing as every other detachment. Your stuff just does different things. Like, you just get like slightly different abilities, but your codex is so well balanced internally. You can take so many different units from this codex and they just work together. And it doesn't matter what the detachment is. And I really, really, really like that. So this part of the video might be a little shorter, I guess, than some of the other ones, or maybe less thought out, or whatever you want to call it, because they all kind of just, I've done 4 of these at this point, and most of the lists feel similar because a lot of the units that you want to take from like Vectorium, you also want to take in Morty's Hammer, you also want to take in Champions of Contagion, you also want to take in Deathlord's Chosen. So a lot of overlap with the different units there. If I were going to rank the 4 detachments that I've covered, I think this is my least favorite, but that being said, I still think it's really, really good. Otherwise, I wouldn't have covered it in the first place. So let me know what you think down below. Tell me what I missed, all that. Thunderhammer the like and subscribe button. Show Papa Nurgle some love as well and crack his bell. Hey, that rhymed. That wasn't on purpose. Check out the other videos as well. We've got a bunch. There's like 100 and there's hundreds. Check out the other channel. We're currently doing a Dawn of War 2 Let's Play. So do all the things. I should just trademark that phrase. Do all the things. Anyway, my fellow 40k theorists, that's going to do it for today's video about the Deathlord's Chosen Detachment. I really hope you guys enjoyed watching. If you did, make sure you do all the things. Theory as hard as inhumanly possible, and I'll see you guys in the next video.